Kasuka, behind you! Bell, without turning, would throw Kasuka's Venom Fang behind him. It's spinning through the air and slashing through the skull of the monster Lily was talking about. It stood no chance against this Bell. Bell would quickly glance at the system monitor, showing him his stats. At this point, Bell had reached level 39. His HP was 7,229. His magic power, 638. His strength, 97. Vitality, 59. Agility, 97, intelligence 51, and his sense 81. While Bell wasn't exactly certain how these numbers worked to contribute to his overall strength, he had begun to get an idea of it, with him realizing fairly early on after Kasuka's fight and that entire instance dungeon incident, that his strength not only related to his physical power, but his speed as well. He had gotten faster, with him looking older, his physique even matching the power that he had begun to gain. Bell was particularly excited about his magic power. With him not having any spells or abilities to use it with, he was still interested in seeing if he'd grow to be able to use magic at some point, with him always having thought it'd be cool to be able to use magic with a sword. I'd be just like one of those heroes from all the storybooks that my gramps gave me. Bell would bend over, picking up Kasuka's Venom Fang, his focus being interrupted when he turns back towards Lily, who would scream as another monster. This time an ant would appear. Bell would appear in front of it, cutting it at the neck as the entire creature would fall. At this point, the system would give Bell a new notification. After he had slayed this monster, he would have unlocked a skill. Passive skill. Advanced Dagger Techniques. When the player uses daggers in battle, any damage inflicted by an opponent will be increased by 33%. Bell's eyes would light up. 33%? Wow. I mean, I'm not against using a dagger. I was hoping to get into some swordplay, but a 33% damage increase for just using a dagger? Mr. Kasuka, what's wrong? Lily would ask, in a sickeningly sweet tone. Oh, nothing, Lily, it's fine. I'd like to go a couple more floors down, and then we can turn back for the day. How does that work? Sounds good to me, she'd say, although secretly she'd be impressed. How could this shoddy-looking adventurer who has one advanced-looking piece of gear and a crappy little protector on his arm be this powerful? This guy practically had no equipment at all. He was relying purely on his strength. Some kind of meathead? Who knows? Anyway, Lily wouldn't care too much, already having noticed that this dagger has got to be carrying him, since it's one-shotting everything they're coming across, and she thinks it has some sort of poison or paralysis effect, maybe even both. Maybe it's a magic weapon of some kind? It's gotta be valuable though. Bell, on his side, would begrudgingly be accepting Lily as perhaps she actually is a strong supporter, having never really seen her do any supporting work when they were in their party before. Bell would sigh, realizing that he must have misjudged her, seeing that she was actually a hard worker, having taken out several monsters herself and even picking up magic stones and keeping them in the bag. While Lily carrying all of this gear sure looked interesting, Bell realized how inefficient it was, saying in his mind if he could just reveal his item box, he'd easily stash everything in there. But there was no way he was going to trust her, not after what happened last time. For now, he was just investigating, seeing her situation out, and deciding if he really thought of her as a bad person. After all, he wanted to give her one last chance. After descending a couple more floors and having entered that gray forest, Bell would have taken out several monsters, but the difficulty was clearly up, with more of them appearing than he can even keep his eyes on. Without Lily watching his back, it was becoming more difficult to avoid getting struck by monsters, with him realizing this must be as far as he can go right now, with some of these monsters just simply having more numbers and power. There was only so much one person like himself could do. Bell would have realized this is why people adventure as a Familia. This is why it's practically impossible to be a solo adventurer in this world. After a bit more hunting, Bell and Lily would decide to end it there for the day, with this going on for several days and into a week. Eventually, Lily would ask if she could see Kasuka's Venom Fang, although he didn't call it that. She just asked if she could see his knife. Bell would oblige, providing it to her, as she would give him a spare weapon in the meantime while she investigated it. As Lily tried to grab the blade holding it by the handle, the weapon would disappear, vanishing. Huh? What? Bell would get a pop-up on his screen, with the item saying, "Weapons equipped by the player cannot be equipped by others," with Bell seeing that the blade had been returned once again to his inventory. While Bell was holding his finger to his chin, Lily would begin swearing up and down, saying she didn't do anything, it just vanished, with Lily clearly getting panicked that this was going to affect her relationship with Kasuka. At this point, we get a little flashback to after their first days and week of adventuring together, with Bell having split the gold he had earned from the monsters 50-50, saying it was only fair since she was putting in all this work. Lily would be surprised, having never met an adventurer who was so caring and fair, and actually valued the support that she gave. While Lily appreciated it, she also began to feel a sense of unease. Her plan to double-cross and deceive this guy was beginning to twist her stomach. She almost felt guilty about it.
How stupid. I left that Bell kid to die back there just a couple weeks ago, and now I'm the one who's getting all sentimental? Fine. Looks like it's about time to cut him off then, huh?
The next day, it would be morning. We would see Bell running around Orario, doing push-ups, squats, sit-ups, and would have successfully completed his daily quest. This time, though, he would do an extra couple sit-ups and push-ups, realizing how easy it had become. At the same time, he would notice that the counter was actually going up. That was definitely something to investigate later today. For now, though, he head back. With it getting close to sunrise, the girls will be waking up soon, and he wanted to help with them getting ready for the tavern. The girls in turn being the maids from the Hostess of Fertility, with Mamma Mia having allowed an exception for Bell, saying she wouldn't mind having him stay there if he has nowhere else to go. And since he's not a part of a Familia, it was pretty easy, and it was a good fit. Bell would even defend the girls whenever there were creeps at the bars, and they didn't want to talk to them or interact with them. Bell defending Ryu a couple times as well, which was surprising to her, having remembered what Bell had been like during that first time he'd ever come to the Hostess of Fertility. But regardless, today Bell had the day off. There was no plans for him to enter the dungeon. This was because Lily had asked him for some time, with her needing time for something private. Bell decided not to pry to get into the Soma Familia's business, having heard more unsavory rumors about them at the tavern, now that he'd begun to get to know the adventurers of Orario better. As Bell walks through the door of the Hostess of Fertility, he would take the towel around his neck and wipe the sweat from his forehead. Bell would enter and would see Seer bending over a countertop, wiping it down. She'd turn around with a happy expression on her face, saying, "Bell, you're back!" "Oh, Seer? You were awake? I wasn't expecting that." Seer would run up looking at Bell as she leans forward looking up at him, asking what he's doing up so early. Bell would look around saying, training, I guess? Seer would chuckle at this, with her saying, "Speaking of training, didn't you say you had the day off today? What are you doing that for? You should be spending all your time with me." Bell would laugh at this, giving her a pity chuckle, saying he wished it was that easy. With Seer then walking behind the counter, she'd pull a strange book from underneath it, showing Bell and saying that a customer left this here last night. "Since you have nothing better to do, why not give a little light reading some work?" Bell would put his hand on his chin, saying, "Well, I was planning on helping everyone get the bar set up for the day, but since you've already started, it looks like you got mostly everything done, huh, Seer?" Seer would nod, saying, exactly, as she gives the book to Bell, saying, "Why not give that a read?" Bell would take it back to his room, sitting on the bed as he cracks open the book, not having sat down and read a book in a long time. Bell would hope it was an interesting heroic story, like the ones he'd read as a child. But as he began to read, the system, everything around him, it would begin to fade away. As Bell's mind would open into darkness, he'd hear a voice. But it was not like the voice he had grown accustomed to, but it was himself when he was weak, insignificant, when he was nothing. "What are you interested in? What do you accept? What do you hate, desire, sorrow, worship, or vow? What do you truly long for deep in your heart?" "Alright, let's start. What is magic to me?" "Magic is a weapon to defeat the weakness within myself and to grow stronger." "What sort of thing is magic to me?" Bell would think of the hearth, the one inside of his grandfather's home that burned bright when everyone around him had passed away, when he had been left alone in this world. Magic? It's a red flame. A flame of a victor that burns bright, where the losers are turned to ashes, swift and merciless. I want to become a hero, like the kind that appear in fairy tales. The kind that can burn a dragon out of the sky like a bolt of lightning. Now, Bell would hear another voice. This time it would be a different man. Someone who he had never heard before in his own mind. The man would chuckle, laughing even. It was a hearty laugh. Ah, so childish. That's so like you. Sorry, Bell would say. That's just who I am.
Bell! Bell, wake up!
Bell would sit up quickly in bed as he looks around him, realizing the book he'd been reading had fallen to the floor, its pages now blank. Bell would gaze down his hands as the system would roar to life, a screen popping up stating the notification. Congratulations, you have used a grimoire. You have gained the skill Firebolt, level 1. Mana cost, 50 per cast. What?
Bell!
Bell would quickly fall out of bed, sliding to the ground as he kicks the book under it, running up to where Seer would be waiting outside the door, his hair a mess. Seer would ask if he's alright, having a faint smile on her face. Bell would ask, Seer, what's up? Sorry, I was taking a nap. In the middle of the day? How unusual for you, Seer would say.
Oh well, I just wanted to tell you that your friend was here. Someone named Welf Crozo? He's been waiting outside the tavern. Apparently he finally finished something he had ordered from you?
Bell's eyes would light up. It's done! It's finally done! Bell would run downstairs thanking Seer as she looks into his room quickly, peeking and seeing the book with its pages blank. She'd have a faint smile glimmer across her face as she shuts the door. Bell would run out of the Hostess of Fertility with Welf sitting outside, a large bag next to him. Hey, Bell, it's you! I finally finished that gear we were talking about. And speaking of which, you didn't forget our little deal, right? Now that you're all geared up, I'm expecting us to make a great party together. Sound good? Bell would nod, with him giving a fist bump to Welf, saying, That sounds great. Let's do it. Tomorrow, right? Oh, I almost forgot. There's actually someone else who's joined my party. Her name's Lily Ruka. She's a supporter from the Soma Familia. Welf, for obvious reasons, would be slightly concerned, with him asking what this girl's really like. Bell would say she's pretty strong, but I don't fully trust her either. He'd turn to Welf saying, Oh, by the way, when we're all together, don't call me by my actual name. I'd appreciate if you'd call me Kasuka around her. Does that work with you, Welf? Welf would sigh. Yeah, I could see why you'd do that. The Soma Familia is pretty unsavory. Maybe that's not such a bad idea after all. Bell would give Welf another fist bump, taking the bag and thanking him as Welf would head back off, with him planning to meet Bell the next morning for a dungeon raid. Bell would see as the sun was slowly beginning to set, as he'd remember the other thing he wanted to do today, with him saying, Crap! Bell would take the entire sack filled with all of the gear Welf had brought him and throw it into his inventory as the system would begin categorizing it. Bell would be impressed with the armor being listed as B rank. Welf was seriously talented. With him looking at the entire set, the armor would boost his vitality by 25 points, with his agility being boosted by 30. Before Bell can let himself get too distracted from Welf's armor, he decided he needs to further experiment with the daily quest, not having too much time left, seeing that he actually had 105 push-ups listed, wondering if he could double the daily quest rewards by completing it twice in the same day. Bell would begin doing more push-ups, sit-ups, and running, with him running around Aurario as dark would descend upon them, completing 200 at the max. As he reached 200 and double in running and everything, the system would give Bell a notification, saying, Congratulations, you have cleared the secret quest, with him unlocking a new option, to either choose between a cursed or blessed loot box. He'd been getting these random loot boxes so far, which is how he got the instance dungeon key. He hadn't gotten any other keys since then. But this was different. When he looked at the cursed loot box, it would say it would give him something he needs. The blessed one saying it would give him something he wants. Bell for now would accept the blessed loot box, not really wanting to find out what was inside a cursed loot box, thinking that's kind of terrifying. Opening the blessed loot box, he'd receive another dungeon key, this being an S-rank dungeon key, the Demon King's Castle. Bell would gulp as it would say the location is at Aurario's main dungeon tower. Bell would gulp, having learned magic and gotten this dungeon key the same day. He really wanted to try his new magic. It was something he actually felt excited about, and this was the perfect chance. Bell, moving at full speed, would easily reach the tower in a couple of minutes. With him now arriving at the dungeon, the key would begin to activate as he holds it out, twisting it in front of the tower before entering inside of it. Bell would successfully enter the dungeon, as this new world would appear before him. It would be bright? No, it wasn't the sun. It was burning red flames covering Aurario. The entire city was burning. Bell would turn his eyes towards the main tower of the dungeon. What it used to be the dungeon. Now it had huge chains wrapped around it, flames and pillars coming out of it in every which way, and an entrance at the very bottom of the dungeon at the ground floor, leading upwards, as opposed to the usual route of descending from the top down deep into the depths of the earth. In front of this huge door inside of the dungeon, Bell would see it. A monster. A three-headed beast with dog-like features. Its name, Cerberus the Gatewatcher. The name of this beast being a dark orange, almost red. Bell would reach for the system screen, pulling out Kasuka's Venom Fang as he holds it in front of him with one hand, his eyes sharpening as he runs forward towards the large dog, with him holding out his other hand as he screams the cast word according to the system's skill screen. Firebolt! Out of Bell's left hand, a burst of flame would spout forth, exploding on impact with Cerberus' skin, but it barely did anything, as Cerberus would run forward barking as it rips its teeth towards Bell. Bell would hold up Kasuka's Venom Fang as he blocks the blow, getting sent back flying into a building, barely able to cushion the fall of his legs. Bell would grit his teeth as he jumps off of the shattered building, running again towards Cerberus. How is this even possible? With Wolfslayer, my stats have all been increased by 50%. Even with me blocking that strike, it took a third of my HP. Dash! Bell would run even faster, his speed increasing as he moves like a whirlwind, slashing with Kasuka's Venom Fang at Cerberus. Cerberus would turn, its other head snapping at Bell with its teeth. With Bell's advanced agility and his sense skill, he would have detected the attack, moving back as he skids across the shattered pavement. He'd hold up his hand, casting another firebolt, with the flame now once again hitting Cerberus in the eye. With it wincing as it screams out yelping, he could tell it did just a little bit of damage. Damn it. Bell would use the new technique he had gotten after defeating so many monsters with Lily the past couple weeks. The advanced dagger skills. Fatal Strike! He would slam Kasuka's Venom Fang into Cerberus, with him using Fatal Strike, which costs his mana. With Fatal Strike, this new skill, combined with Firebolt, he would cast them at the same time, burning the flesh of Cerberus and successfully triggering it to go into a frenzy. As all of its stats would double, Bell's eyes would widen as he gets sent flying like a ragdoll by the large dog. Bell would crash into 3 buildings as they tumble, turning into sawdust and flames, as Bell would cough with now wood shards sticking out of his back as he's almost on the brink of death. Bell would use his full recovery from the daily quest earlier that he had forgotten to use. With this, his stats would go back to 100%, but even then, Cerberus' name would be deep red, and Bell knew from his instincts that if he went out there again, there was a high chance he would die. Shop! Bell would look scrolling through the shop. Come on, where is it? As he would look for them. Potions. There. Bell would buy several mana potions and healing potions, using a good chunk of his gold, as he then leaped from another building as Cerberus had found him, slashing at the building as more of the houses would go down in flames. Bell would hold his hand out from afar, casting Firebolt and drinking mana potions, using the distance to take advantage of Firebolt's range while Cerberus was snapping at him. While this wasn't doing any much damage, it was giving him some time, and a way to whittle down the beast's HP. Damn, it looks like it's resistant to fire. As the rage frenzy would stop, Bell would take advantage of this as he leaps in, its stats decreasing as he slashes with Kasuka's Venom Fang, using Fatal Strike, Firebolt, Fatal Strike, over and over again, as the beast would begin yelping in pain, its HP dropping by the second. Bell would begin screaming, I won't die here, I'm going to keep getting stronger. He would jab Kasuka's Venom Fang into its eye, the paralysis and poison having had 0 effects so far, as he puts his hand over the blade. Firebolt! 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 His mana was draining rapidly, but the beast's HP was moving faster down into the red. As Bell would take out the knife one last time, jabbing it back in and giving it a good twist right into its brain. With a final whimper, the 3-headed dog would fall to the ground, and the system would give Bell a notification. Congratulations, you have defeated the gatekeeper Cerberus. You have leveled up. You have leveled up. You have leveled up. Congratulations, as you have reached level 40, you have now unlocked the job change quest. Would you like to accept? Bell would say, no, not now.
Bell would hold his hand out saying, "What are the rewards for beating this guy?" As he would look at the items he receives from the system. Gatekeeper's Collar, A rank. Type, necklace. Agility, +20. Sense, +20. Bell would be heaving as he falls over, with him thinking about all the effort he had to put into that. If I didn't have Wealth's armor, if I wasn't the level I was, if I had taken on this dungeon, if my Wolf Slayer title didn't activate, I'd totally have died there. Bell would look at the second item he had received. Permit to enter the Demon King's castle. With the Gatekeeper's permit, you may enter and leave as you please. Oh, so this means I don't have to have a teleportation stone like last time. Nice. If I had gone any further, there's no way I'd survive. Bell would be level 42 now, with him leaving that dungeon and having now seen the power of Firebolt as well as having faced that S-rank monster. Bell was more confident than ever, and he also had this new job change quest to think about. Bell would successfully make his way back to the Hostess of Fertility. Anya and the other cat girls would yowl when Bell enters, saying, "Damn, he smells like blood. Go take a bath or something." Bell would apologize, clearly worn out, as he sighs heading for the bath. With that, Bell would head to bed for the night, waking up the next day and equipping his gear again. With him putting on all the armor from Wealth, he'd be quite dashing looking. As he walks down the stairs, Mamma Mia would be impressed, saying now he's looking like an actual adventurer. Seer would blush, saying he's quite dashing, while Ryu, Anya, and the others would all nod in agreement, saying he's the spitting image of an adventurer. Wealth would be standing waiting outside the Hostess of Fertility, with Lily there also pestering him as the two had been in an argument, with Wealth being suspicious of Lily. "Oh, hey, Kasuka." "Hey, Kasuka." "Ah, Kasuka. Are we all ready to go to the dungeon? This weird buffoon has been trying to talk to me this entire time, saying he's a part of your party or something. I would get rid of him if I were you." "No, this is Wealth. Yes, he's joining our party starting today. He's a blacksmith from the Hephaestus Familia, and he crafted this nice gear for me. See? As part of our agreement, I'm helping him with reaching level 2, so I'll be helping him in the dungeon." "Oh, of course, Lily. I'm not going to take any of the money out of your half. I'm paying him on my own accord." Lily would make a sound, as she's thinking in her mind that this is going to get a lot tougher now, wondering if there's any way that she can off this Kasuka guy without Wealth getting intervened with, not wanting to piss off the Hephaestus Familia. She'd have to bide her time and wait. Bell's eyes would narrow. With his sense skill having increased so much, it was easy to tell when people held malice. At that moment, Bell didn't even need the system to know that Lily was thinking of something quite negative indeed. At this point, Seer would come out from behind him from the Hostess of Fertility, putting her arms around Bell as she has a lunchbox in her hand, saying, "Oh, you forgot this." Bell would have a slight blush as he closes his eyes, saying, "Seer, personal space." With Seer saying, "Whoopsie," as she then removes herself from his back. Bell would thank her kindly as he bows toward her, turning back to Wealth and Lily saying, "Well, shall we get going?" While the three are walking towards the tower, Seer would call from their back waving, saying, "I'll see you back at home," with Bell turning and giving a slight hand raise, as he heads off towards the dungeon. Wealth would put his mouth next to Bell's ear, saying, "So, boss, is that little lady there your girlfriend?" Lily would open one eye, turning and looking, as Bell would smile, saying, "That's a good question. Well, I took her out on a date once to Monster Philia, after she invited me. But officially, no. Although she is definitely one of my close friends." Bell would remember back to that night, when he had lost everything, when he had been mocked by Beta and the other Loki adventurers, and Seer and the other girls from the tavern had been there for him. He wanted to protect them and make them happy. While I can't say if I'm interested in any of them romantically, I would say that I love all of them dearly. Wolf would sigh characteristically. "Dude, that's kind of a cop-out answer, alright?" "Huh, you think so, Wolf? Well, I am quite the hypocrite." Enough of this. Come on, guys, let's focus on getting to the dungeon. If we keep yapping out here all day, we'll never make it. That night, when Lily returned back to the Summa Familia, she would have a hefty amount of gold, thinking that maybe this life isn't so bad. Maybe she doesn't have to do anything and hurt Kasuka or Wealth. At this moment, she'd get pushed against the wall. It was Greer's and those other adventurers from the Summa Familia. "Hey there, kid. Oh, look at you. Looks like you've come across a nice chunk of change." "Well, you know what they say. Finders keepers." As the older man would kick her down the stairwell, she'd groan out in pain, having memories of when she had been with her adoptive parents at the flower shop, when they burned it all down, and they'd been chasing her ever since. She'd cry out, begging them not to, as they'd laugh, kicking her again and grabbing the gold, saying that she better keep bringing them that cash if she wants another taste of that alcohol again. Or, next time, they're cutting her off. They'd take out their thumb and slice it against their throat. For good. The next day in the dungeon, we would see as Lily is getting surrounded by beasts. Bell would yell out saying, "Lily!" as he throws the dagger, with him learning a new skill, dagger throw. Bell would then use his fist, pummeling the magic beasts and turning their heads to mush as they'd pop into magic stones, dropping to the floor. Lily would be holding back tears, as this entire time she'd been trying to think of some way that she could take down Kasuka, but she could think of nothing. Even without that dagger, he was amazing. His fist, his pure physical strength, he was only supposed to be a level 1 or a level 2. And this guy, he was easily a top-class adventurer. It's like he continuously got stronger every day, every time they were fighting. Like he had no limit to his potential. This was the day. This was the day she was going to do it, where she was going to betray him. Wealth was off. He had something he needed to do. They'd gone deeper than ever before. But Belle, when she had been surrounded and not expecting it, he had saved her. At the same moment, we would see some adventurers now coming down to the floor, as Lily would scream out to Kasuka, saying, "I'm so sorry. I planned on luring them here if I couldn't get rid of you." She'd have tears coming out of her eyes. "But I can't do it. I'm sorry." Bell would turn, his eyes turning cold, as he would see Lily genuinely means it. She feels apologetic about everything. Bell would sigh as he turns, saying, "Well, I guess there's one thing I should tell you. My name isn't Kasuka. It's Bell. Bell Cranel." Lily's eyes would water as she looks up, saying, "Bell?" As the other adventurers, Grease included, would now enter the floor, saying, "Hey there, brat. You've been the one who's been feeding our little rat money, right?" They'd hoist up their axe, all of their weapons as they point them towards Bell. The system would alert him, surprising Bell. "There are individuals that wish to harm the player. Eliminate them or your heart will stop."
Seriously? The system, it's making me. It wants me to kill them?
Greers and the other Soma adventurers would laugh, pointing at Lily Ruka, saying, "Hey, come on! Get over on this side, right? You're on our team trying to take this idiot out and take all his stuff, right? That gear looks pretty expensive. I bet it's Hephaestus made." Lily would cry, putting her fists down, and she says that she can't betray him for a third time. Bell would smirk as he turns, saying, "Greers, it's been a while." Seeing Lily's tears, his mind had made up.
"I'll be a hero for those close to me. And for everything that stands in my way, I'll cut it down."
The adventurers would attack, saying, "Hey, it's that Porter kid. Looks like he had a little growth spurt in those couple weeks, huh? Just like a weed. Let's pluck it." The adventurers would run forward, using a spell with one of their mages casting a magic attack at Bell. Bell would stand there as he tanks it, the blast knocking him back slightly as he wipes a bit of blood from his lips, standing up, his eyes now a searing crimson. "But that was a level 3 adventurer's attack! How is he still standing?" Bell's soul, his face would go cold as he moves forward at blinding speed. Lily would be shocked, seeing as he's gotten even stronger since then. Since the last couple weeks she's seen him, she's known it all along. This guy is amazing. Bell would appear, holding up his hand in front of the mage's mouth, pressing his palm into her face. Firebolt. An explosion would rip, her eyes exploding out of her head as the flesh inside of her body would melt as she collapses to the floor, stumbling to the ground. Bell would turn now, looking at his other enemies, as the timer would tick 1 out of 6. Grease would scream, holding up his new sword as he slashes it down at Bell. Bell with an open hand would smack him across the face as he flies across the ground with him screaming, his face now covered in red marks and pain as he screams with his swollen cheeks saying, "Kill him! Kill him now!" What happens in the dungeon stays in the dungeon. Isn't that right? Bell would appear with Kasuka's venom fang in his hand as he slashes the throat of another adventurer, with them falling to the ground. Another adventurer, this one an assassin type, a rogue, would sneak up behind using an invisibility spell as they try and shiv Bell. Bell would turn, catching the blade as he'd use Fatal Strike, a hole would open into a gash in the man's chest as the thief-type adventurer would fall to the ground as blood would fill the empty crevice that his heart used to hold. Bell would turn now as the other two adventurers would scream, trying to run. "I can't have that," Bell would say, as Bell would appear in front of them using Casca's Venom Fang with a swift strike, fatal strike, cutting both of them in two as they'd fall in half. At the same moment, Grease would get up screaming, saying he's a level 4 adventurer. There's no way he's gonna die to some punk like this. His heart would fill with rage as he runs forward, breaking the sound barrier. As he slashes down with his great longsword, Bell would catch it with Casca's Venom Fang, pushing it to the side as he pulls his fist back. "That's your problem, Greers. You're weak and pathetic." With magic power charged into his arm, Bell would punch Greers in the head, smashing his face into the ground as the dungeon would rumble. With Greers dying, his eyes now dilating as his heart would stop, Bell had successfully eliminated the threat, with the system rewarding him, giving him +3 stat points for all of his stats. Bell would turn back, his eyes on Lily. As he walks toward her, she'd flinch, with her closing her eyes shut, but not resisting. Bell would grab her arm and pull her to her feet, asking her if she's alright. She began crying, asking Bell why he would save her, why he'd work with her all this time after knowing what she had done when she'd abandoned him. Bell would smile again. "It's because I'm selfish. It's because I want to become a hero." Bell would smile again, looking at the items he had gotten from completing this emergency quest. Although, inside of him he'd feel a hollow emptiness. That was the first time he'd ever had to destroy another person, to take their life from them. Bell would peer in his inventory while his arm would be around Lily. Looking at it, he would see Runestone, Stealth. "Lily." She'd look up at him with tears in her eyes still. Yes? "How do you feel about leaving your Familia, but continuing to work with me? If you do, then I think it's about time we pay the god Soma a visit." With that, Bell would take Lily as they head towards the Soma Familia's base, with adventurers coming out realizing that Lily Ruka had returned and the other adventurers like Greers and his party had not. With that, Bell would tell Lily that they're heading straight up there as he would pick her up, jumping over the adventurers, pushing the door open into the god Soma's room, his distillery. The vice captain of the guild would run in, saying, "You can't be in here," as he tries to put a hand on Bell's shoulder. Bell would turn with this new skill he had gained, stealth and murderous intent. A skill he had gained with those 3 stat points from completing that emergency quest. This giving him the ability to debuff others, halving their stats, their level, everything, making them weaker. The man would stumble backwards and fall, as Bell and Lily would walk into the room, with Bell putting his hands in his pockets, looking at Soma, this god so obsessed over making his wine. Soma would turn as Lily kneels, begging him to be released from the Familia, saying that she doesn't want to be a part of this any longer. He'd sigh, saying that all of you are the same, as he pulls a cup out, now dumping the liquid inside of it, handing it towards them. "If either of you can drink this, and not fall to its charm, then I'll allow you to leave." With that, Lily would look up as she's about to take it. Bell would turn to her, holding his hand out, saying, "Let me handle this one." He would walk forward, grabbing the booze, as he'd chug it down in one gulp, drinking the entire cup. As he stands there, waiting for the effects of it, someone would watch, his eyes now widening, as Bell stands there completely fine. The system would have activated, detecting a deadly poison, as the blessing would have activated, thus nullifying the alcohol, making him completely immune and unable to be drunk, allowing Soma to finally find a human completely resistant to his divine wine. The god would be shocked as he asks, Who the hell are you?" "It's Bell Cranel." What a crazy ending. Well, for part 3 at least, of What If Bell had solo leveling. If you guys are interested and want to see more, make sure to hit all those cool buttons down below. And I'm looking forward to putting out part 4 soon, with this covering the job change quest. You guys know what to do if you want to see Egris' next episode. Make sure to keep supporting and commenting down below your thoughts, as well as where you think the story is going to go from here. See you next time.